Seems like we're a go. All right. So it's 7:30, gentlemen. We're all CPAs and accountants and financial advisors here, so we have to make sure that we start on time. And so, welcome to episode 1. This is episode 1 of Cheers to Wealth podcast, where one Mexican, 2 white dudes talk finances and taxes while getting massively intoxicated. And if that ethnical comment was a little too much for you, you probably don't have a job, and therefore this is probably not the podcast for you. How'd you like that intro, Dwight? Is that good enough, or is that a little too much?
That's the way to get it started, right?
Yeah, that's the way we're
you
gonna
promised.
Here.
I'm just trying to figure out who's the Mexican.
It's William. If by now you don't know it's William, it's obviously I'm Cuban. I'm not Mexican. So it's all good. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to tell you why we're doing this, and I'm going to let my counterparts here introduce themselves. And we're going to have a whole bunch of people hop on this podcast on a week-by-week basis. But we're doing this because we're very privileged, us three, to work with a firm that deals with just really high net worth people, and we're very blessed to have the opportunity to work with them. And we're also very blessed because we get to solve some really high-end complex problems. So like the one that was sent to us today, a gentleman is going to sell his business this year. He's going to have a profit of $50 million, and we have to figure out how the hell we're going to make most of that taxation go away. So these are some really high-level problems, but I will tell you that a lot of the stuff that we implement for these clients can be applied to any level of income. And so really, if you're going to get value from this podcast, there's a couple of things that you need to have in place. Well, number one, you have to have a job. Obviously, if you don't have a job, then this is probably not the place for you. You have to be making at least $50,000 of income plus. You need to have your debt somewhat under control. You can't just have a whole bunch of credit card debt and just owe a whole bunch of money to a whole bunch of people. And you have to have some sort of savings. Like if you don't have at least $10,000 in savings, where we can call that your nest egg, it's going to be very difficult for you to take any of the information that we talk about here and actually do any good with it. This is not the Dave Ramsey show. We're not going to teach you how to get out of debt. Like if you are knee deep in debt and you don't have any savings and you have way more paycheck at the you have way more month at the end of your paycheck, this is probably not the place for you. But if you are a hardworking American and you're making pretty solid income and you have pretty solid savings, you feel like your financial situation is in a good place and you're just kind of trying to figure out how the hell can I do more with what I have, then this is definitely the place for you. We're happy to be here for you. This information is going to be 100% for free. The only thing that we're going to ask of you is, number one, if you like the content, please like this video. We're going to have a YouTube channel available for you, which was supposed to be ready today, but we got flagged by YouTube because we created the channel and then immediately started streaming on it. And apparently YouTube doesn't like that. So our YouTube channel and our email that we created for this YouTube channel, both of them got flagged. You know, I didn't tell you guys about that today. So we're going to have to troubleshoot that, but we're going to provide you a platform where if you have questions, you can send us an email. And we're going to try to cover all those questions here on the show. But so my name is Raul Gomez. I'm a financial advisor, tax strategist, and I'm going to let these dudes introduce themselves. Whoever wants to go first. Anybody?
Well,
go ahead, William.
We'll go first. William Bennett. I'm a CPA. Get a opportunity to work with these guys on a daily basis. And like Raul said, we're here to solve a lot of high-level problems, but we're also here to speak to Middle America about building wealth and things that come into that. So excited to be here with these guys. We all bring a little bit different thing to the table, and that's what makes us a great team. So cheers to wealth.
So, and it's called Cheers to Wealth because we're going to be drinking the entire time. Hey, William, are you related to like William Clinton? So you guys have you have a similar tone of voice. So I was just
it's the cadence in the South that comes with
got
it.
Got it. Okay, cool. All right, go ahead, Dwight.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Dwight Dye, and I live just outside of Nashville, Tennessee. So in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And the good thing about technology and the way we work together is everybody is in different states. Raul's in Texas, William's in Georgia, hence the Georgia polo. I am a big Georgia Bulldog fan, so William and I get along very well during the fall. And actually, Georgia is playing Vanderbilt in Nashville right now in basketball. So as soon as this is over, we'll hop on that and watch that game. But I'm excited to be here, excited to start this. I'm a tax advisor, tax strategist. So primarily I work with high income earners alongside Raul and William, ultimately to help strategize and come up with ways that people can keep more money in their pocket. Because we all know that you can do a lot better with your money than sending anything extra to the government. So we're here to help and looking forward to it.
Well,
so
I appreciate
cheers,
you.
Everybody.
Cheers. All right. We're going to continue to drink as this podcast continues. That's really the only reason why I wanted to do it. So here is a common we'll call it complaint. Here's a common complaint that Middle America has, and that complaint is that why the hell is it that wealthy people, why is it that rich people don't pay any freaking taxes? And I have to pay all this money in taxes. Like, it's not fair. I don't know how many times I've heard this. And I'm going to tell you a couple of things, ladies and gentlemen. Number one, this is a game. This is a game that you can play at any freaking level. It doesn't matter how much money you make. What matters is how you use that money. And that's really what wealthy people have figured out, that unfortunately the majority of Middle America has not figured out. Most Middle America is 100% stupid with money. And I'm going to tell you, like these two guys are pretty chill. My goal here is to be extremely direct because I want to piss people off, because I think a lot of the times the only way that you're ever going to take action with anything in your life, if somebody comes along and pisses you off. So if I piss you off in this podcast, I really don't give a shit, because here the goal is to make sure that you are able to make better decisions moving forward. And I firmly believe that the only way that that's going to happen is if somebody opens your eyes and tells you, look, this is what wealthy people are doing that you are not doing, but you can very well do, because this is a game. And if you choose to play the game, then you're going to be able to win at some point. And if you choose not to play the game, then you can bitch for the rest of your life, and you're probably going to die broke, and you're probably not going to be able to acquire any net worth, and you're probably going to work a job that you hate for the rest of your life, because that's really what most people do. And then what you're going to try to do is survive on the measly $75,000 that you were able to accumulate inside of your 401k, which nowadays doesn't really help you for anything with inflation as high as it is. So do you have to understand that you have to take a more proactive approach to your taxes, to your finances, to everything that you do if you want to make a difference. And if not, then you're just going to be stuck in the rat race like everybody else. Which is why when I did the initial spiel, I said, look, in order for you to get value from this show, you have to have decent income, you have to have a decent savings, and you have to not have a whole bunch of debt, because if that's not your situation, it's going to be very difficult for you to get value here. Because what wealthy people have figured out is that if you have enough money, if you have enough capital, you can invest in the right things to completely eliminate your tax liability. So I'll give you an example, and I'll turn it over to Dwight and to William so they can share their 2 cents. Assuming that somebody made, let's say, $1 million of income for tax year 2024. So let's talk about this current tax year. So let's say for tax year 2024, you made $1 million, which means you're going to have to pay a hell of a lot of taxes. Depending on what state you live in, you're probably going to pay anywhere between 30 to maybe 35% in taxes off of that $1 million. So we're talking about $300,000 to $350,000 in taxes. But if you have like $3 or $4 million sitting on the sideline and you say, okay, well, I'm going to go invest in enough things to make my $1 million of income for 2024 go away, you can do that all day, every day, and you will bring your taxation to zero. That's what Donald Trump does. That's what everybody else does. And so the moment that you figure out that having cash, having capital, and investing in the right things, the moment that you figure that game out and you start actively working towards that, that's when the whole game changes for you. But it's not going to change until you start making those decisions. So I'll turn it over to one of you guys while I drink more.
Yeah, I think, Raul, that was one of the things that was eye-opening when we started working with high net worth, high income individuals, was that there's a whole different set of rules out here. But the tax laws are written that everyone can participate in them once you know what the rules are for doing that. But yeah, we've definitely learned a lot of things that they can put money into. Having liquidity, I think what you talked about, that's the biggest thing in the whole game, is that you can't spend all of your earned income and then expect to build wealth, much less lower your taxes. And so that's the challenge that we have a lot of times, is trying to encourage the clients that they've got to keep more liquidity, but you can't just hold on to it in a savings account because inflation is going to eat it away. And you've got to put it in some kind of tax favored investments that we'll talk about as the show continues, I'm sure. Dwight's the real estate expert here, so he'll share with you some ways to do some things there. But that's the biggest thing. And then if you can stop paying the high taxes, it's very easy to start building wealth. And that's another thing that we've learned along the way.
And you have to listen to William, because William has been a CPA for 20 years. And then his dad was like a CPA for 40 years. And I think his grandfather was a CPA for like Abraham Lincoln or something like that. So he comes from a family of CPAs. So if he tells you what is David's is our CEO for our company, what do you say? It's your right not to pay taxes. It really is. If you figure it out, I mean, you don't have to pay any taxes. All right, Dwight, what's your take on that, man?
Well, we were discussing before we came on that in preparing for this episode, I researched some stats, and 65% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And when you don't have anything left over at the end of the week, end of the month, you don't have any money to invest, to save. And I'm amazed at some of the people that come across for us to potentially work with, and they're making so much money that, but then they don't have any saved. So a lot of the strategies that we use to help people save money require an investment, like Roll was mentioning. And it's like, well, you didn't have this money saved, but how are you going to pay the taxes if we didn't come along to help, strategize to save money? You wouldn't have been able to do that either. So, at the end of the day, cash is king, and being liquid, because it's either you're going to give it to the IRS or you're going to give it to yourself and get a better return than anything that you're going to send to the IRS. And yes, I do love real estate, and that is an option for people to build wealth with.
And I think the wealthiest people, at least in America, are definitely in real estate, and real estate is going to be a huge component of what we talk about here. But so let's kind of hone this down a little bit, and let's talk to people that are making, let's say, $50,000 to $100,000 a year, maybe have $20,000 to $25,000 in liquid savings. They're trying to figure out how they can build their net worth. What would you guys say the first step to that would be? You think it's better to get into real estate? You think it's better to start a business? Which, by the way, I think that everyone should have. If you are an employee for a company, if you are a W-2 employee, which means that's how you get paid, you need to either invest in real estate or you need to have a business. If you want to figure out the tax game, that's got to be your step one. What's y'all's take on that?
Yeah, I think one of the things is there's a lot of advantages to real estate, but you've got to be making money somewhere else before you just hop into real estate, because you can lose your shirt very quickly and put yourself in a real bad situation if you just try to go out and make money in real estate. But we've also learned that you don't have to have a whole lot of money to get started in this game as well. So there's people that you can team up with. There's ways to make money along the way in the real estate industry, which we see sometimes with flipping homes is a great way to get started with it. But then ultimately, if you just continue to flip homes, what we found out is that people end up paying a lot of taxes, because you got self-employed earned income taxes on top of federal and state taxes. So the key there is to be able to then reinvest that money into rentals and things that you're going to hold for a long-term investment. But the first thing I think you got to figure out is how to make some money in business, whatever business that is. Go ahead and put the work in to make the money, because you got to generate the capital to get started. But when I was early in my career and preparing tax returns, that's one of the first things I noticed was that real estate investors came in and made a lot of rental income, but had very little overall net taxable income. And so that clued me in that was an opportunity to build some wealth, but also reduce taxes, was through real estate. But the people that we're working with, they're not making their money in real estate per se. They've made their money in business, and then they're putting it in real estate investments after they have the money. So finding yourself a good cash flow in business, I think, is the key to building wealth and also getting out of debt if you're already into it.
Well, and to your point too, man. Go ahead, Dwight.
I was just going to say, I like to remind people of the cash flow quadrant in the Rich Dad Poor Dad book by Robert Kiyosaki. Ultimately, the tax system favors business owners and investors. And so if you are a W-2 employee or that small business owner that's filing a Schedule C, you're going to have a higher tax rate, or maybe not higher tax rate, but you're ultimately going to pay more taxes because you don't really have a good way to offset your taxes as a W-2 employee. As a Schedule C filer, you're paying a lot of self-employment tax in addition to your ordinary income tax, because that money gets taxed twice. So the quicker you can get moved over to that big business owner, whether it be a S Corp or a C Corp, and then that investor level, at that point, you're going to start making the tax system work for you. And ultimately, the tax system is written as a roadmap to help you keep more money in your pocket. There's only like 1% of the tax code that talks about paying taxes. The rest of it talks about all the tax strategies and all the ways to help avoid paying taxes. So just keep that in mind as well. The quicker you can move over to the right side of that quadrant and be a business owner, you can really start taking advantage of the tax system.
Well, and a couple of things that I wanted to add before I forget. The first thing is, if you are an employee of a company or an organization and you get paid via W-2, you don't know what that means. It just means that you get paid a salary through a company. You're not a business owner, you get paid a salary. You will always get screwed when it comes to taxes because you don't have anything to write off because you are an employee. The person that gets to write off all the expenses is your boss that signs your check. So that guy can write off everything and anything he wants because he's the boss. He owns the business, so he can factor in all of these expenses. And guess what? You're one of those expenses. So when he signs your, like, assuming that I was like Dwight's boss and I signed his check and I'm like, okay, Dwight is one of my expenses. I'm going to give him $75,000 for tax year 2023. I send him his check. I write that off. Dwight gets to pay all the taxes on that. I pay taxes on none of that distribution that I make to him. So you have to understand that when you work for an entity or a business that is not yours, you're never going to have any tax savings. That's number one. Number two, to William's point, if you make less than $100,000 a year, you don't have a tax problem. I'm going to say this again. If you make less than $100,000 a year, you don't have a tax problem. You have a money problem, which means you need to figure out ways to make more money. So one of the things that William was saying was a great place to start is like flipping real estate. Because like, let's say, for example, assuming that maybe you have like $50,000 in savings and you're like, man, what do I do with these $50,000? Well, you can actually put a down payment on a piece of real estate that you want to flip. And then you can actually borrow the rest of the money to basically renovate that entire property, and then you sell it and you pay back the loan and you keep the profit. So that's a real quick way for you to take that $50,000 that you had in liquid savings and turn it into $100,000. And then you do it again. And then you do it again until you get to a point where you have $300,000 in liquid savings. Now you can start doing other things. So the quickest way, I think, in my opinion, to really start to beef up whatever savings you have, to say, you know what, I'm going to get into the real estate game. I'm not going to buy and hold real estate because I don't have a tax problem, because I make less than $100,000 a year. I'm going to flip real estate so I can figure out a way to make an extra $50,000 to $100,000 this year, in addition to the salary that I already have for my employee. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, that's the difference.
Well, I love flipping houses.
Yeah, that's
Sorry, William. I think there's a delay.
That's all right.
There's a little delay.
I was going to say that one of the things too that we could tell the viewers is that not only do we advise these things, we do these things ourselves, and we've flipped a few houses along the way to create some income and wealth along the way for ourselves as well. But that's a key point when you're talking about an employee and a business owner. The business owner earns the money and then gets to spend it all, and then if there's anything left over that hasn't been spent or put into some tax favored investment, then the taxes are paid on what's left, whereas the employee pays taxes off the top and then has to pay everything else with what's left. So it's a very big paradigm shift once you become a business owner, because the tax code literally is written for you. For example, just in an everyday living, if you're an employee and you go out to lunch every day, you're just paying for that with after-tax dollars. But as a business owner, most of the time we're finding people to go to lunch with, and that's a tax deduction. Same meal, but treated two different ways. Or our cars, we get to deduct mileage and get to deduct the automobile expenses. So pretty much everything in your day-to-day living can be a business expense once you have the right facts and everything on your side, even your trips and travel that you do. And so all of these things help you build wealth along the way as well.
Well, what's the phrase when you're an employee? You pay taxes first, and then you pay your expenses with whatever's left over. But when you're a business owner, you pay your expenses first, and then you pay taxes on whatever's left over. Something like that.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then there's a thought that being an employee is actually more security for you. But once you're a business owner or a real estate investor, you have more cash flow, more income streams coming in. So you actually reduce your risk a lot more by being a business owner, because even if a customer or client decides not to do business with you, you still got a string of other clients and customers that will continue to support you. But if you're an employee and you lose that one stream of income, that can be disastrous as well. So even if you're an employee, the thought should be, how can I get some type of side business going to start my journey as a business owner, to build some wealth for myself and family, but also start participating in some of the tax savings that you get once you establish yourself as a business owner.
Well, and I think it's hard to amass wealth as a W-2 employee, because, I had a former corporate job, and, you have salary ranges, and, whatever your job title is, whatever your roles and responsibility is, it's going to fall within this range. And eventually you're going to hit the top of that, and you can't make any more money. And that's where I was with my corporate job before I was able to go, be at the tax office full time, is I was pretty much capped, and I hated being capped. And now I'm really not capped. I can make as much money as I want, because I can just get out there and hustle and drum up new business. So keep that in mind too. And I feel like we're bashing W-2 employees. We're just trying to open up your eyes to see that, you need to keep your W-2 job for a little while, but eventually, find something that you can do on your own from a business standpoint. It took me 3 years working both the tax office and my corporate job before I was able to go full time at the tax office. And actually, we're talking about flipping houses. I flipped a house, and with the proceeds was able to buy my first tax office. So, so I love flipping houses. It's a good way to generate income, and then made that investment into the tax office. And, 12 years later, still in the tax industry. And so it's been a really good investment. But wholesaling and flipping are both good ways to generate some income, generate some capital that you can do other things with.
Well, I am bashing W-2 employees, most definitely, and let me tell you why. Because I'm here to play devil's advocate. Like, these guys are way too nice. William said this. He said the reason why you have your W-2 job is because you want that security. You don't have any security. The only thing you're securing for the W-2 job is that you're going to be broke when you hit retirement. That's the only security that you have there, because when your only source of revenue is your W-2 income, like that's the only money that you make, you are allowing somebody else to dictate how much money you can make. That's problem number one. Problem number two is that a lot of people say this, and I used to be a teacher, so I hear teachers say this all the time. So teachers, you're gonna get a lot of shit from me on this podcast, but because I want to help you. Teachers very often say, I have 20 years of experience. Oh, I have 20. I don't want it. I have 20 years of experience. You don't have 20 years of experience. You have 1 year of experience repeated 20 times because you stopped learning things freaking 20 years ago. And that's most W-2 earners today. You get so comfortable in your job and receiving that paycheck that you stop learning, you stop getting better, you stop innovating. And then one day, what your boss realizes is like, you know what? I can hire someone younger and pay them 75% of what I'm paying you. I'm going to fire this guy. And then the problem there is, since you've spent the last 20 years sitting on your ass, not building any skills, nobody wants to hire you, right? So to William's point, there is no security in having a W-2 job. The only security that you can ever have in life is whatever security you can provide for yourself. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is by building skills, which is a huge part of what I help you here. Figuring out how to do additional things to create streams of revenue for you and to help you make more money. And then once you get to a certain level where you're making a certain amount of money, then at that point we can figure out, okay, well, how do we start saving you money in taxes? But for a lot of you guys, if you pay $3,000 in taxes, like that's your tax liability, and you're complaining about $3,000 of taxation, you need to understand that there are people writing checks for $450,000 of taxes. So they pay more in taxes in 1 year than what you make in 5, right? And you need to understand that that is a tax problem. And so what you need to figure out how to do is how to get yourself to that level where you actually have a tax problem. So that was the first thing. The second thing, because Ian was saying that I'm drinking apple juice, this is like a triple old fashioned. So generally when you make an old fashioned, it's like supposed to be like this much, but I make it so good that I just made it a triple. So by the end of this podcast, I'm going to be hammered. And so cheers to wealth. That's my take. I don't know. You guys can be nicer than me.
Well, I mean, the old fashioned is where you and I bonded one night, and that's why we're all here working together at this point.
Well, I mean, you can't use the term bonded that loosely, man. People are gonna get ideas here. This is not that type of show. Not that type of show.
But yeah, you're right to the point that if you're thinking $3,000 to $4,000 is a lot of money, or you treat tax season as a way just to get a refund, and if you don't get a refund, there's people that come to my office, okay, and if they did not get a refund, we wouldn't get paid for tax preparation. And I don't understand. You can't go anywhere else and tell anybody else, I'm not going to pay for your service unless I get some type of result that gives me money to then pay you. But that's a normal occurrence during tax season. And not so much anymore because we've moved in some different areas. But earlier in my career and stuff like that, if they didn't get a refund, sometimes they didn't even come back and pick the tax return up, or we didn't get paid at all. And I know Dwight's had some of those same kind of things come up where debt has taken over people's refunds and things like that. So it's just a mindset that what we're talking about. We're talking about how the rich get richer. It's how they think about stuff, how we look at ways to make more money. It's not trading your time for money because we only have a limited amount of time. And so this is a challenge that we've all had to work on with ourselves is if we want to grow our business, we want to service more clients, we have to find ways to increase our time and resources. And ultimately that is through employees, which like I said, we're not really bashing them, so to speak, because you got to have employees. But what we're saying is that at some point, yes, we were all employees and we learned some skills and then decided we could bring more value to the marketplace. But the trick is once you become a business owner, that mentality of being an employee, you've got to kind of work yourself out of that, or you'll just take a job. I mean, you'll create a business around your skill and then you'll just have a self-employed job. So now you just own a job and you're still not any better off. So the key to building wealth is to build teams, to learn skills, which we've learned. We worked on that the last couple of years. We didn't just wake up one day and start advising high net worth people. We had to go and study them and then learn along the way. So another thing is you're not going to know everything before you jump out there. We still have cases coming to us, even like you talked about today. We've got a guy selling a business for multi-million dollars. And as much as we know, we're still sitting here saying, okay, now what are we going to do with this amount of money? So it's a new challenge. But from this, we will get a new experience. And so to your point, Raul, every year we're getting another year of experience. And that is really enabling us to grow as professionals and to help people on a higher level as well, that we would not have gotten if we just had a job and said we're going to stay there till we're 65 years old. So there's just a lot of things that go in there. So when we talk about the rich being richer, they're looking for ways to expand their mind, first of all, because if you can think it, you can see it, you can do it. And I think fundamentally, we believe that we could go from 6-figure incomes to 7-figure incomes because we believe it. And now we're just out here trying to see if that's a possibility for us to do that. But we first had to believe it in our minds. But the poor mentality just says, this is how life's always been. This is how I was raised. This is the neighborhood I grew up in. These are my friends. I'm just going to be how I am. And they just accept it. And I think that's why the poor stay poor. And now that we're into inflationary periods that we've never seen before, especially in our lifetime, you definitely got to develop some type of skill out here that is in demand. And so we know from our skill set, it's in demand because of the volume of people that we talk to on a day-to-day basis. And even last year, our company ended up having a wait list because we just couldn't take on any more clients. So that told us, yeah, the skill that we're developing here is in demand, and there's a lot of people around the country that need to benefit. And so whatever your skill set is, you need to find that and then figure out how to monetize that at a high level.
Man, Willie, you're going to make me cry. That was so beautiful. We got to let you
Well,
talk.
that was good stuff, man.
That was good. You didn't even stutter. It's like you've been holding that in for like 5 months. That's good. It's because Willie wants to pick up more clients because I told his wife that he needs to buy her a new car.
Oh yeah, it was her birthday yesterday.
It was her birthday yesterday. Kelsey, if you watch this, I promise you, I'm gonna make sure this guy gets you a new car.
That's what I said. We got to make some more sales, right?
Yeah, we got to make some more sales. And to your point, man, and we'll send a shout out to our one of our partners. I mean, our biggest partner. He's the one that runs our firm, which is David Perez. You know, a huge reason why we get to work with these people is because he's established such great connections and such great networks with a lot of individuals. and he puts us in situations where he brings us these people. He's like, dude, you guys have to figure this shit out, because he's the one that brings them in, and we're the ones on the back end like drinking coffee, trying to figure out how the hell we're going to be able to do what we said we're going to do, which many times we know exactly what we're going to do. And many times, like today, you know, the client's like, hey, I'm going to sell my business this year. I know I hadn't told you guys, but I think it's probably going to be about $50 million. And I really don't want to pay a lot of taxes. And we're like, shit, that's a lot of money. So we have to figure out creative ways to do that. But ladies and gentlemen, you have to understand that in order for you to build wealth and then eventually not pay taxes, you have to stop using money to buy liabilities. What does that mean? You have to stop buying shit on Target, on Walmart, on Amazon, and you have to start saving money. And when you have enough money saved, 15, 20, 25, $30,000, now you have enough money to start getting into either some real estate or some other things that can make you more money. And then as you make more money, eventually you get to a point where you have $100, $150, $200,000 in liquid savings. There's a lot that you can do with that. A whole lot that you can do with that. But you can't get there unless you have an action plan. And that's a huge reason why we decided to put this podcast together for you guys. I'll share this with you because I really do want you to understand the value that we're giving you here. Our average client to work with our firm on an annual basis pays above $20,000 per year to work with us. And a lot of the same mechanics that we do for them, we're going to share with you here at a lower tier level, 100% for free. You just have to show up with an open mind, take some notes, and then go and execute. So you're getting very high level advice for nothing, as long as you choose to implement it. Or you can go watch another episode on Netflix of whatever the hell it is you're watching today. And I guarantee you that's not going to make you any more money. It's not going to make you any healthier. It's not going to make you any better. And it's definitely not going to change your life. So, well, what happened here? Was that William?
I don't know.
Gotta love it.
I want to jump in. I haven't talked in a while, and I've just been sitting here drinking. So William had a lot to unpack, and you did too, Raul. You know, I think mindset is key, and the way people spend their money versus assets versus liabilities. William alluded to some of the clients that I had worked with early on in my tax preparation career, where they had to pay our fees out of their refund. And I remember specifically, these people would come in after they got the refund, showing us the latest iPhone, or telling us, they were going to buy this big TV that wouldn't even fit in their apartment, but they were going to buy it anyway. However, out of all those people, there was one person in particular that stood out. And with his refund, he was going to prepay 3 months worth of rent. Just to get that taken care of. And that was such a smart decision while he had the money to go ahead and do that. So when I spend money, I'm always thinking, is this going to make me money, or is this going to cost me money? And I try not to spend money that's going to cost me. And I know I've got staff that may be watching, because I told them to watch out here, but they come to me like, we need this for the office. Well, how is that going to make us money? Do we really need that for the office? And you've got to think about it that way. And then one other thing I was going to mention, we were talking about. I heard it recently, where if you distribute all the money in the world within 3 years or so, it'll end back up in the pockets where it started from. And I think a perfect example was a couple of years ago with the stimulus payments coming out of COVID, when the government started giving out the stimulus payments. There was people that used that money to go buy the iPhone, go buy the TVs, and they have no return for that. But Walmart does, Amazon does, Target does, and so Jeff Bezos, the Waltons, all that money just ended up in their pockets, and these people had nothing to show for it. So money is just a tool, and we need to look at it like if you're going to cut down a tree, would you rather have an axe or a chainsaw? Well, I'd rather have a chainsaw, or some sort of butter knife. You're going to use the chainsaw. So just use that tool to help build wealth, and quit buying liabilities. What you could do is, whatever you're going to spend towards that liability, buy an investment that ends up paying for that liability, is what I would propose. I'm off my soapbox.
You're off your what?
My soapbox. So
you
guys carry on.
The two guys that don't have hair are the ones that are wearing caps. I just noticed that right now. It's all good, man. We make it look good. I'll probably make my last remarks, and I'll let you guys kind of close this out, because the whole purpose of episode 1 was just to kind of give you an idea of the things that we want to talk about in this podcast, because some of these episodes are going to be very, very specific to like a certain thing, so that you get some clear takeaways. But we wanted to give you like some perspective as far as what we're going to want to talk about. But when you said money is a tool, Dwight, I hear this a lot, and I think this is a great way for us to close this out. A lot of the times I will hear people justify why they don't want to work harder because there are things more important than money. I hear this all the time. People say, oh, there's things more important than money. Who needs money when you have family? Yeah, money is, this is a very common one. Money is the root of all evil. I hear all this stuff. But realistically, in most scenarios, when people say that, they're just justifying their lack of success by making money evil. And so when you said money is a tool, that's the way I look at money. I don't necessarily love money. Like, I just look at money the same way that I look at my phone. Like, I use it to be able to do the things that I want to do, not only for myself, but for my family as well. But it's just a tool. It's just a resource. And wealthy people see this. And because they look at money as a resource, they don't look to clinch to the money. And I think that's what happens to a lot of people. You clinch to your savings. Like, you don't want to let that go. I want to see the $40,000 in my bank account. I don't want to send that anywhere. It's a tool. It's like a hammer. It's like a screwdriver. You have to use it to be able to do more things. And so whenever you say that money is evil, it's not so much that money is evil, as much as if you idolize money, that can be evil. But if you look at money the way it's supposed to be, just as a resource, just as a tool, you can do a lot of good. And if you look at a lot of these individuals that have a lot of money, they give a lot of that money away. As hard as it is for you guys to believe, I think a lot of the times people think that all of these wealthy people, all these millionaires and billionaires, they come from money. We call it the lucky sperm club. That's not the case. Most of these guys at one point in their life were just as broke as you. The majority, and we'll probably want to get those statistics, right? Because you're the statistics guy. At one point in their life, most millionaires today were 100% broke. And so you need to understand that, because that can give you the courage and the confidence to say, hey, you know what? If they did it, then I can do it too. So that's my statement. You guys take it away.
Well, for me, making $1 million a year is not just to say, well, we made $1 million a year. It's about the journey of what it took to change you, to change your mindsets, to create the opportunities. I mean, we've all spent a good bit of money on our education, and not the education in college. I'm talking about the education of learning how to do some things in business that the average people don't know. And I think we've all paid multiple 5 figures to get some skills that we needed in business. And so now our incomes go up because of the skills that we've developed, and the money itself, it's nice to have. We're not going to say having money is not nice to have. And anybody that says it doesn't make you happy probably doesn't have a lot of money, because money can make you happier. You talk about family time, having more money for family gives you better experiences with your family. Okay. Taking better trips, doing things for their school, being able to sponsor their sports teams, being able to provide needs for your community, all of those things take money. And so if we didn't have the money, we wouldn't be able to do that. But to me, it is about the person that you're becoming. To build a bigger business requires some leadership that you need to develop. So we need to develop our sales and marketing a little better. We need to develop people, management, just a lot of things that get developed along the way before you make the $1 million a year. But we're around enough people every day that it has opened our eyes up and broadened our horizons of what is possible out here. And so I think that's the biggest takeaway, is that don't let anyone tell you that you don't need any more money, because money can be used for a lot of good purposes. And there's nothing wrong with having success in your life, and don't let anybody shame you for that. That would kind of be my takeaway tonight.
Well, I find it interesting when people, bash people who have made money. And I want to say, you talk about statistics, the Millionaire Next Door book is a good book to read, because I think it's like 5% of millionaires actually inherited the money. Everybody else kind of earned it, and worked for it. So it's a very small percentage of people who just got lucky on the genetics and had a good inheritance. So it's actually people that have busted their tail and are no smarter than we are, that have figured it out and just made a lot of money along the way. And to wrap it up, one thing to leave you with is people. There's two different types of people. There's people that complain about problems, and then there's people that solve problems. And the people that solve the problems end up making a lot of money. A couple years ago, I was able to meet Jeff Hoffman. He's the guy who started Priceline.com and then Booking.com. I looked up before we started the show. Booking.com has a cap rate, or a market cap is $129 billion as of today. So this dude, he knows what he's doing. But in the course of meeting him and having dinner with him, the one thing that people don't know about him is he invented the airport check-in kiosk that all of us use when we go to the airport and check in on this kiosk. And so it just so happened that he was flying to meet a mentor of his. He had a job interview. He was going to go meet this mentor, talk about working with him. And he goes into the airport to get checked in for the flight. And back in the old days, you had to go to the counter and physically, not physically, but talk to the person behind the counter to get your boarding pass. And so the line was a mile long, he said, and ultimately standing in that line, he missed his flight. So instead of complaining about it like most of us would, we would say, God, this sucks, I hate this, and just complain about it. The next day, he's like, how can I solve this problem? So he started drawing up what this kiosk would look like, where people could come in and just check in themselves. If they didn't need to check a bag, they would just go in and check, get their boarding pass and go on and get on the flight. So be problem solvers. Quit being complainers. There's a lot of people that just complain nowadays, and I get sick of it. If you see an issue, just take the lead and solve it. Good stuff tonight. I enjoyed it, and thanks for everybody that watched. So tune in next week. Not sure what the topic's going to be, but I'm sure we'll have a few more drinks next Wednesday.
Man, I definitely need to not make a triple next Wednesday. That was definitely hardcore. Well, very good, gentlemen. And so we do actually want to provide you guys an opportunity to ask questions. Now, we're going to have actually, we created an email for this, which was like cheerstowealth@gmail.com, and it got canceled. And so did our YouTube channel like this morning. So we're going to figure this out for the next podcast, which will be next Wednesday at 7:30. But in the meantime, if you want to email me at raul@raulgomezjr.com, if you have any questions, like things that you want us to cover here in the podcast, we'd be happy to do so. We want to bring you as much value as possible, 100% for free. The only thing that we ask is like the video, share the video if you like the content. We're going to have some guests on here. We have a lot of advisors that work with us. Some of them are watching today. I know, Joseph, if you're watching, you want to join. You're going to join on one of these and really bring some people some good value as far as what we do. But ladies and gentlemen, this is just our way to give back. We definitely want to help you. We want to help you get better, not only with your finances, but just with your overall quality of life, because that's a lot of the stuff that we're doing on a personal level. And thank you so much for tuning into episode 1. Gentlemen, any closing remarks? We're good?
Cheers.
All right.
Cheers to an opening episode.
William, you didn't drink today. I need to make sure you have alcohol next time.
I'll see what I can do too. But I think I did pretty good altogether, considering, right?
Yeah, considering you did exceptionally well. All right, guys. Thank you.